Guys, we're starting in a minute. Please wait. Ronit, we can start the session now.
Okay, Chitesh. So we will start this session from where we left yesterday. Yesterday, if you remember, we created one new project. That was project two. Okay, we did nothing in it, but I tried to explain you the code using our the old project in project one. The code was pre-written, and I was just explaining them. So in this video, what I'll do is I'll create that props, all the dealing with the props live in front of you. Okay, so you may get that thing easily. After doing that, having done that, we'll go to the next thing, that is state. I told you that props are being received by the component from their parent, but state are the data elements that are used within the components. Okay, components use them in themselves. They can be changed based on some specific conditions, but props cannot be changed. All right, props can be used to make decisions, make conditional renderings, but props cannot be changed. State of component can be changed with user interactions. Okay, so in this lecture itself, I'll make one counter app which will have two buttons to increment and decrement the number of clicks. Okay, when you click the plus button, the count will increase by one, and if you press the negative button, the minus button, the count will increase by minus one. The count will decrease. So we'll make that app. So before that, let us proceed and understand that props things better. Then we'll move to the states. Okay, so this PPT is explaining you how state is used within the components. Okay, how these things are changed and how props are received by the components from their parents. Okay, so we'll do what? We'll simply minimize this presentation for now, and we'll use our desktop to move to our project, and then we'll start writing the code. Okay, so I'll just stop. Okay, so this is the project 2 that we built in the last lecture. So we'll drag and drop it to VS Code, and we'll start with the code. So we had this Asasi folder that we need in our project. Okay, we only need to change this Asasi folder. So what do we need is we need three components, right? The first one will be the parent component, and the other two one will be the child components, and one of them will be rendered based on the condition that we pass to the parent component. Okay, so the prop passed to the parent component from app.js to our parent component will decide whether the child will be rendered on the page or child 2 will be rendered on the page. So we'll make one folder inside src folder, and that we will name that folder to components. Okay, to hold our components in here. So you can see I made this folder. So I'll make the first component and we'll name it something easier to understand. So I'm going to name it parent. Okay, parent.tsx. And we'll have two child components. So we'll name them child 1 and child 2. Okay, so let us make them also. So I'll be making one child component, that will be child 1. To follow the naming conventions, I'll be using Pascal case, and then we'll be making one more child component and we'll name it child 2. Okay. So this parent component will do what? It will call either child 1 or child 2 based on the condition that is being passed by the parent's parent, that will be app.js. Okay, so we'll call parent component from app.js with some props, like giving some props. Okay, so let's just do that. We'll remove the boilerplate from here. We'll remove the class app also, or else we can keep it. Okay, that will help us in centralizing the elements. Okay, so let us keep it. This app, this class name app, okay, it's coming from app.css, so you don't need to think much about it for now, but I'll be explaining it once we go to the including css in your project. And also I'll be dealing with style component, so we'll tell you that how we can use css inside javascript and we can reuse it according to our need. So let's go through it, and we'll be calling our uh, parent component. Okay, so we first need to import our parent component in order to use it. So we'll include, I'll use the shorthand imp and press enter. Okay, so in your IDE, if you want to have the similar feature, I will tell you about few extensions just after I'm done coding with this. Okay, using those extensions, you can also use those shorthands, all those shortcuts. Okay, so let us import our component, and we'll be importing parent component. Okay, parent component. So let us not name it component, let us just name it parent. Okay, and we'll be including it from component folder. We'll go to the component folder and we'll choose the file parent. So now let us start building our parent component. So parent component does what? It either selects child 1 or child 2 based on the props. So in order to make a functional component, I'll use one another shorthand, and that is React Functional Component, RFC, with an export statement, okay, RFCE. Okay, so after typing RFC and pressing enter, I will get a boilerplate for the function component with the export statement. So this parent component will take a props as an argument, and then it will show that it will judge that props. Okay, judge the age inside that props. So we can do what? We can type simply. We can first make a curly braces because we are writing expressions in it. So we will type props dot age, and we will use a ternary operator to check for the conditions. We'll press question mark, and we'll render. We'll first complete our condition over here. So we'll be checking if it is greater than or equals to 18. Okay, and we'll ask if it is greater than 18. If it is, then the first statement will be executed, and for the first statement we'll be rendering our first child, that is child 1. Okay, let us let us render child 1. Okay, so in order to use child 1 here, we need to import it. Okay, so let us import it again. Importing child 1, from where it is present in the same directory structure. So we'll be putting dot slash child 1. Okay, and now we can use child 1 here. Similarly, we'll be importing child 2 also. So just in order to copy and paste this, the next time we can use shift plus add plus down arrow. Okay, so it will be copied. I'll change child 1 to child 2 from child 2. Mhm. So this first statement will be executed if only it is this condition will be true. Okay. So we will after a semicolon, if we put something, it will be executed only if this condition will be false. Okay. So let us render child 2 component if this condition is false. Okay. Inside child 1, we have to show uh, the props received by the props given by this parent component. Okay, that will be the name, and we will show that name along with if it is major or minor. Okay, because we are checking it, we are passing age which is greater than 18 in the inside child one. We have to show that the particular user is a major user. Otherwise, that particular user is not adult, but it is a minor user. Okay, so we'll pass this props to it with name key. Okay, so we'll give some name to the major person here. So we can give some name like I'm a major, so I'll provide my name on it. And we know from the web series Doraemon that Nobita is a minor. So we'll pass name Nobita, save it. We can see that our parent component is ready here. So we can go to the child one and we can similarly we can use R function React functional component RFC with export statement RFCE. We can press enter. Our wallpaper will be ready and we'll receive props from here. So we will type props here. We can show that props like in curly braces. Okay, so we can use h1 inside here. Okay, so we'll simply use h1. Why I'm wrapping curly braces inside h1 is because we'll be only uh, evaluating the name of the user. Okay, so we can write something like inside this curly braces ops dot name, the name that we pass from the parent component. Okay, is major or an adult. Okay. Similarly, we have to make the child 2 also, but we will only write that he is minor or not adult. Okay. So we'll make that using the shorthand RFCE. Okay, React functional component with export. I'll press enter and our power update will be there for us. So we'll write, we'll receive props here. So we'll type props and then we'll use our old h1 tag to show the user. We have to evaluate the props dot name. We have to use curly braces because that is a variable. So in order to evaluate the variables, we need to use curly braces in JSX. I have already told you. So we'll type props dot name that we will be receiving from the parent is minor. We can go through the code once again in order to understand it. This is the parent component which is calling child1 with some props name and the value of the prop is on it. Okay. Similarly, it is also calling child2 with the name key and the value Nobita. Okay. So this will be calling either of them based on a prop that is named age that it will be receiving from app.js. And if that age prop will be greater than 18, then it will be rendering the first child one, with the key with a prop that's name is name and the value is Ronnie. Similarly, if it is lesser than 18, then it will be calling child two with a props whose key is name and the value is Nobita. We'll go to the app.js here. We'll simply call this parent component from here. So we'll simply type parent in here. Okay, there's a message spelling parent, and we'll pass the props each from here. We'll pass some number which can be greater than 18. So in order to enter the first component, so we'll pass 19 over here and see if this works or not. Okay, so in order to run our project, we need to use yarn tool with the command yarn start. So this will start our project in development mode. Why? Because this command this the start script is written inside our package.json. Okay, so let's just start our project by pressing enter, and let us go through the package.json to see what our start command will do. So you can see that in package.json, start command will run this particular command, react script start. Okay, so this will start our script in development mode. If we want to build our project, we can use react build, and that will execute this particular line of code, that is react scripts build. Okay. Similarly, for testing purpose and ejecting means you are ejecting your create react app tool from your project. Okay, so let us wait. There is some error with launching. Okay, we are inside the project2 folder, not inside our app. Our app is named props app. Okay, so we need to first go to the props app folder. So let us type cd props. Now we are inside the props app, so we can now run the yarn start command. We'll press yarn start and we'll wait for it to launch. Okay, so some project is already running on 3000, so it is asking me if I want to run it on some different port. Yes, I want to run it on some different port, so I'll press y here. Okay, so to try running our project in some different port, because some other application was running in 3000 port. Some project is on. You need to wait until it loads up. Let us wait. I don't know why it is taking so much of time, but we don't have any other option but to wait. Okay, so I think our app is ready now. So we can see that Ronit is measure or an adult is printed because we have passed something, and that is greater than 18 to the parent component. So based on the prop that it is receiving from the app component, it is deciding whether to render child 1 or to render child 2, and with the props name. Okay, and the values Ronit and Navita respectively. We'll go to the app.js and we'll change this value from 19 to some lesser value than 18. So in order to render the child 2 component. Okay, so some lesser value than 18 will be 16. So I'll be passing 16 and we'll be saving this for now, and we'll wait for our result to render. I think our result is ready, but I cannot see it because minimized. Okay, so this is here. Nobita is minus rendered. Okay, so child 2 component is rendered because we have passed value lesser than 16. This was all about the props with functional component. We can do the same thing with class component, but we have to use this dot state. This dot props instead of simple props dot age. We have to use this dot props dot age because this is the global object present in mostly all languages, but also in JavaScript. Okay, we can use this keyword to access the global object, and props is a global object provided by React people. Okay, so in order to use that, we need to use this dot props, so that a global object is present inside the component which we extend when we make some class component in JavaScript. So the next topic, we'll be going to the states in here. So let us go to our presentation and see what do we need to understand in states. So we'll okay. So you can see in this picture that React.js component states are for component, the state is something that it uses and changes based on the user interactions, but props is the thing that it receives. We have seen the props now, so we'll go to we'll see state now. In order to use states inside a class component, you need to use this dot state. Okay, because state is also uh, one another thing that is present inside the component class of React.js, In order to use a global component, we need to use this keyword. Okay. For to use, to use the state, we need to use state hook. What is a hook? I'll be telling you. But let us go ahead and see how we can use state in a class component. Okay. So to see it, we will be making one counter app in which we'll have two buttons to increase the counter and to decrease the counter by one. Okay. So let us go ahead and make our counter app inside project 2 itself. Okay. Let's
Ronit,
go
there is
ahead.
an announcement. First of all, I have
Uh-huh.
shared a link in the chat session. You have to fill the link for live attendance because only live attendance will be considered for the session. Please fill this link and comment on the post for the live attendance. Also, from tomorrow, we will be having a session on the Google Meet. So it will be an interactive session for you to join and you can ask your queries there only. This was the announcement. Ronit, you can continue now.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Chitej. Thank you so much for the announcement. So you can follow up Chitej's request if you want to attend the live session. I'll be dealing with all the questions asked there. So okay. So what I told you, I'll be going to the project two with states and we'll be changing the state based on the clicks. Okay. So that will be basically a counter app which will count your clicks for the plus button or the minus button. Okay, so I'll also use props inside it. I'll not simply make the button inside inside the class component itself. I won't use the default button that is provided by the HTML, but I'll make a different component for the button so as to make you understand how the props will work in that project itself. Okay, so we'll go ahead and go to the desktop. Allow me some time. I'm in the slideshow. Okay, we'll minimize the output. We'll be in here and we'll be okay. All right. So we'll be making one more component, and that component will be used. Will be the button. We'll start from the one component that will be explaining us the state. Okay. So let us make this component and name it something like counter app. Okay. Counter component. This component will be a. What do you want me to use? A class component or a function component? Please comment it down. Otherwise, I will start with the class component. Okay, so if I don't receive any comments here, so we will get the recorded video of meet session. I think Chitej will be answering this question. Chitej, okay, you want me to use the functional component. Okay, Niti, Nitesh Shalva. Okay, I'll be using the function component in here. So what we can do is, in order to use the function component, I'll be again using the boilerplate. To use the boilerplate, I'll be using the shorthand RFCP. Okay, React function component with an export and press enter. In order to use this, you need few extensions, which I'll be telling you just after this project. Start building this project. We have this counter. Okay, I have renamed it. I have named it incorrectly. I have to remove this extra dot from here. Okay, allow me to remove this extra dot. Okay. So now I have this function component named counter. Okay, so this will do what? Okay, Kshitij, Alex, not Kshitij, Nitesh. Okay, Nitesh, I'll have to ask. I'll have to ask for apology here. I cannot go with the function component because before we go with the function component, I'll need you to tell you about the hook, that is use state hook. So I want to first introduce you with the life cycle, and then I want to tell you about the hooks. Okay, so I'll beg your pardon here. We'll start with the normal class component. Okay, so I'm extremely very sorry. I was not supposed to take that from the comment section. I'm sorry. So we'll do what? We'll take a class component, React class component with props. Okay. So we have this React class component with props. And so this is for props validation. You don't need to worry about this function. So I'll be simply deleting this. and we don't need the props either. Okay? So I don't want function our component with the props. So in order to use the state, you must be using it inside the constructor. Okay, so this is the rule provided by React.js people. We're going to do anything about it. So in order to use the state, we must be doing it inside the constructor. So in order to make a constructor in JavaScript, you do use one keyword, and that is constructor. Okay. Other than most of the languages like Java that use a class name to define the constructor, that is not the case in JavaScript. You need to use the keyword constructor to define the constructor in uh, JavaScript. So we'll be using this super of, okay, in order to use all the functions that are present in the global. Okay, we can use this super of. Why I'm getting this error here? Mm, what is this error? Let us see. Use this constructor. Okay, we haven't defined it yet. So we'll be in order to use all the global objects, we need to use the super keyword. Super of this will allow us to use this keyword. Okay, with the state. We'll define our state. We'll override our state with one JavaScript object. That JavaScript object will hold our count and will initialize that count with the value 0. So after this, what we can do is we can show this count inside our div. So in order to show this count, what we can do is we can simply put the curly braces and we can type this dot state dot count. Okay, this will show the count inside this div. So I'll use one h1 in order to make it more beautiful. Put it inside h1. We'll save this. We have this h1 which holds our count. So if we now look into this app, okay, if you now include this counter component inside our app component, see how this app looks, we can see the count 0 over here. So let us do that. We'll go to app.js and we'll simply import our counter. Import counter dot slash components slash counter. Okay, in order to use that counter, we have to simply use its tag. Okay, using its tag. You don't have to pass any props. I'll be deleting the props here. Okay, and since we are not using parent components, I'll avoid importing it. Okay, we'll save this and we'll try to run. What output does this make? In order to see the output, we have enabled the hot reload, so it will show you the output directly. Okay, so we have already started our project, so that's why we don't need to restart it. You can see that 0 is printed over here. Why? Because we're having the counter, the state count as 0, and we are printing we are showing this up using the curly braces. Okay, so now our next task will be to implement it based on a button. So for button, we can either use the default button that is provided from the HTML, or we can make one component button.jsx of our own, and I'll be doing that in order to explain you about the uh, props and passing functions in props. Okay, for now we have only passed the data in the props. So now with this example, I'll be passing the function with function instance with the props, and we can execute a parents function from a child component. Okay, let us in order to explain this, one uh, we'll be making one component, and that is button.component. So let us make one new file inside the component, and that file will be button.jsx. So button.jsx will have nothing, but it will receive props. Okay, and it will receive props, and it will showing that props that props I mean it will receiving two kind of props. One prop will be its title, and the other props the task that it will be doing. Okay, so we'll do what? We'll simply make one functional component in here. So react functional component with an export statement rfce. We'll press enter. Now we can see that we can have the boilerplate boilerplate code here. So what we have to do is we have to simply destructure our props. Okay, so we'll type props. So I'll tell you about destructuring here. So it is a new concept with ES6, okay, present in ES6, the JavaScript 6 of the latest version of JavaScript. So we can, in order to have use one JavaScript object, we can do what? We can take out its keys using this syntax. Okay, so we will do what? We'll simply take out its keys using the constant keyword, and in order to take out the particular keys, we need to use this curly braces and the key names that we want to take out. We'll taking out the title of the button and the task that it will do. Okay, so we are this process is called destructuring. So we are destructuring two keys from the props object. Okay, will be equals to props, that is receiving. So in order to tell you this destructuring in more depth, I'll be using one dummy.js, and I'll be explaining it in detail just after we finish this particular building this particular component. Okay, we'll be having this we'll be destructuring this constant with title and task, and we'll be making one button that will show its title, that will be the buttons, I mean the thing that we'll be seeing in the browser as the title will be the title that is receiving the pop, it is receiving from the pops. So we'll make this we'll use the default button from HTML, and uh, we'll be using the curly braces to evaluate the string, and we can now directly use the title. Why? Because we can directly use the title because we have already destructured it from the prop here. Okay, so and with the button on click function, okay, you may know about the on click here, that is already present in, I think, HTML. With on click, you do what? You pass one function instance here, and that function is executed, and we can write that function inside the JavaScript. Okay, and that function is executed when we call this on click. So in HTML, we use the double quotes, but with JavaScript, we need to use this curly braces. Okay. So it will execute the task that is it is receiving from the props. We have destructured the task. Okay, we'll be simply saving it, and we'll be doing what? We'll be so now we are complete with this particular button component. So we'll do what? We'll try to understand this destructuring in more detail with the dummy.js file. Okay, so let us make one dummy file just to make you understand how this destructuring works. So we'll make one dummy file, and that file will be dummy.js file. Okay, we can do that inside not we can do that outside our project also, but I don't want to make one more window. I don't want to open that, and I don't want to fall into that complexity. So I'll be making it inside the project itself. We'll be deleting it afterwards. So we can have one object in here. We'll name it object, and we just like previous object, we'll be having one name key. Okay, with the random name that I'll be picking up from the comment section. So I can pick up the pr- prama, permanence name. Okay, I'm sorry, permanent. I'll be taking your name in here in order to explain this. So I'll be putting permanent name here with his age, some random age. Please don't mind if I put something wrong permanent. So I'll be putting some age like 18. Okay, we'll be saving this. And in order to destructure it, what we can do is we'll be consoling it inside our console in order to see it. Okay, so before console.log, we have to destructure it. Okay, we'll be destructuring it in one more constant. So in order to destructure it, we can use this curly braces. We can type something like name and age, and we need to destructure it from this object. So we'll be using obj. So this will give us the name and the age from the object. Okay, we may not need to restructure all of the key. We can also destructure only the one key from this object, but just for the ease, we'll be destructuring both of the components. Now we can use name and age inside our app, inside our JavaScript file, wherever we need to use it seamlessly. We will be typing name we can see this is meant to. In order to run this, I guess we need to stop our. We will be making one more. Uh, Launching one more terminal, and I'll use the node command in order to run this terminal.js file. Okay, so let's wait till it launches. Okay, you can see I'm inside the project 2 folder, so I'll have to go inside this props app folder. So in order to go in here, we have to type cd and change directory to props slash app. Now we can find dummy.js file in here. So in order to run that dummy.js file, we need to type the command node dummy.js. Okay, so there is some error. Yeah, so the permanent need to be put inside quotes because it is a string here. So my bad. So there's a syntax here. What we can do, we can put it inside the double quotes and we can try to rerun it with the node command node dummy.js, and you can see that with we can use this name seamlessly. Okay, and this name is printing out the permanent. Similarly, we can also use age in here. So we'll put a comma in here and we'll be using that age also. You can see after running this, we will be having permanent and edit team. So you know now that how the destructuring thing works. Okay, if we may have some other key in here like location, okay, where he lives, and we'll put some random city name like Ranchi. If we don't destructure it, we won't be getting it. Okay, so we can only destructure the required keys from this object, this particular object. Okay, we will be using location, so we won't be destructuring it over here. Okay, this allows so the destructuring gives us this flexibility of using whatever we need from inside a object. So similarly, what we are doing for now, I'll be deleting this dummy.js file. Just delete this dummy.js file. Yes, I'm very clear with the destructuring in JavaScript. I'll be deleting this dummy.js file and we'll go to the src folder, and we'll go to our component where we have used this destructuring. Okay, so we have destructured title and task from the props. Okay, that it will be passed from the counter.jsx file. Okay, so we go back to the counter.jsx file, and we can see that now we have to call the button component and we have to pass them the props. The two props are title and the task. Okay, so let's call this button up. Let us use this button component. So in order to use this button component, we need to import it first. So we'll be importing it. Import button from where? Not this button. This button is the button provided by. We'll be typing button from where the button component is present in the same folder. So we'll be using dot slash button. Okay, we're saving this, and we can use now button wherever we need. So we'll call it button. Okay, with two props. One props will be title. The title which it will be showing inside the button, the HTML button. So the name of the title was title or title. Let's go back to the button and see. We have this title. Okay, copying this, we can go to the counter app. We can now paste. Okay, so the first title that will be passing to button will be the plus symbol. Okay, so in order to increase, or we can simply type something like increase. Okay, increase, and the second so we don't have to put a closing tag for the components in here. Components are self-closing. Okay. Okay. Components are self-closing. So the second props will be task. The task it will perform. The task will be the function. Okay, we have to use the curly braces. I'm sorry. In order to pass the props, we have to use curly braces. Okay, not the quotes. Use the curly braces with quotes. Why? Because we are passing one string. That is why we are using quotes in here. With task, we won't be using any quotes because it will be an instance of the function. Okay, so we will use this increase function. This increase function we have to make it, and the instance of this increase function will be passed as a props to this button component, and button component will execute it once the particular button is clicked inside this button.jsx. Okay, So let us make this increase, and with this will be also increase. We'll be calling this button component once more. So in order to copy this to the second line, we can use this shortcut shift plus add plus down arrow key. Okay, and we'll name it decrease, decrease, and we'll call one more function instance, and that will be decrease. Okay, so now we have to CREASE, not double SC. Okay. So now we'll be defining these two functions, increase and decrease over here. So let us define this function, increase function. Okay. So wait for me. So we'll go ahead and we'll define increase function. So increase function will be an arrow function. Okay. What arrow function I've already told you in previous classes. So this will do what? This will use one function that is provided by React.js people, and that is this dot set state. Okay, this dot set state. We must not change our state directly using this dot state and then changing it. Why not? Because that will trigger our component to re-render. Okay, and there are few of the complexity involved, so we must use this dot set state to change our state. So we can use this dot set state. Okay, and we can change our count, okay, inside the particular JavaScript object. So we'll be using this dot set state and count. We have to change, we have to get that count inside in here, and we have to add one in it. In order to get this count, we have to use this dot count, and we have to this dot state dot count. Okay, not this dot count, this dot state dot count, and we have to increase it by 1 plus 1. We're saving this. Similar function will be the decrease function. So we have to select it and press shift plus add plus down arrow key to copy it. We have to change the name to decrease, and just unlike plus, we have to put minus. These two functions are ready. This increase function, this decrease function, it will be triggered. Okay, one more thing. In order to use this increment, increase and decrease function, we have to use this keyword. Why? Because this is present inside the render function, and we have to go one up. Okay. So if we would have defined these two functions inside the render function, then we were not in a need to use this keyword. But if it is defined outside the render function, we have to use this keyword. One more thing, why I'm defining these function outside the render function is because every time the state is changed, or every time this set state function is called, our component is re-rendered. Okay, all the thing inside this component will be refreshed. So if we try to use this set state function inside our render function, what will happen? The render function will be executed, and then the set state function will be executed, and the set state function will again trigger the render function to re-execute, and this will create one kind of infinite loop. Okay, render function will be executed, then this particular set state will be executed, and this set state will trigger the render function to execute again, and this will create a kind of infinite loop. So we are not using we never use set state inside the render function. Okay, so in order to use this increase, we have to type this keyword dot increase, and in order to use this decrease, we have to use this decrease. We'll save this, and we'll try to see how this particular thing works. So in order to see what this thing shows us, we have to call this inside the call this counter inside app.jsx. Okay, so we have already called it inside the app.jsx, and we can see that in our other terminal that it is live. Okay, so let's go ahead and see the output. If there is an error, it will show us error, or if there is no error, luckily we'll be seeing the output. Yeah, so you can see that the initial value of the state is 0, and there are two buttons, increase and decrease. Pressing the increase increases it by 1, and pressing decrease decreases by 1. Okay, so our this app, this counter app is ready with the class component. So I'll make this particular app again with a functional component. So we have I guess more 15 minutes here, so we can go with that. Okay, so this particular component is ready with the class component, so we'll try to mimic it with the function component. Okay, so we'll go ahead, and before going with the function component, I want to tell you about the hooks. What are hooks that are provided by the React.js? In order to see that, let's go back to our presentation and see what is use state. Okay, we're back. So just now we have seen that how we have used state, okay, and how we have used props. Okay, so we use props to pass the data to the components, okay, to the child components. From parent components to the child components, we have to pass some data. We use the props. Components use state to manage their own data. We have seen that the how counter app is changing its own state. Okay, props are read-only and cannot be modified. Yes, props we can use that props for some particular purpose, but we cannot change the props value. Okay, but unlike that, we can change the state value using one function, and that is a set state function. The last statement says that the set state method results in re-rendering the component affected. Okay, so it will call the render function again. So our whole of our component will be re-rendered, and that will so we don't call this set state inside render function. Why? Because it will be re-rendering on component, and then again render function will be called, and then again set state function will be called. That will re-render, and that will make us that will end up in ourselves in a infinite loop. Okay, so we always use the set state outside the render component. So now we have seen that the constructor is executed first, and then the render function is executed. So there are few functions that are being provided to the class components, something like component will mount, component did mount. We'll be discussing about those functions and what we do inside those functions in order to achieve some functionalities. So those functions, those functions together are called the life cycles. Okay, so that is for the class component. We have got so many life cycles, so many different functions that we may require in our app, and with that we in order to use those life cycles in our functional component, since we cannot use those functions inside our functional component because our functional component doesn't extend the component from the React. So in order to use the similar kind of functionality, we have got hooks, okay, that are being provided by React people. So what are hooks? Hooks are simply few functions that are being provided by React.js people, and they can be used only inside the functional components and not inside the class components. And with those hooks, we can achieve similar functionality that we get from the life cycles. Okay, so we'll go ahead and we'll see one of the hook, that is use state. Okay, so in the next slide, we have this use state hook. Okay, so we'll go back. We can read here that the earlier versions of React allowed us to use state only with the class components, but now in recent versions, after, to be very specific, after 16.8, we can now use a new feature that are called hooks. Okay, we can use state inside our functional component also with the hooks. The name of the hook to use the state is use state. Okay, so it returns a pair. Okay, we'll see it once we start coding. We'll see how it returns a pair, and it will be very similar to the destructuring that I have just explained you. Okay, so the pair, one of the thing in pair will be the value that we want to show and to change, and the other member of the pair will be a function that will be used to change its value. Okay, so use state takes only one argument, that will be the initial state. Okay, so let us go ahead and use it with the functional components. Okay, we'll end the show, and we'll go to the counter component and we'll mimic this with a function component. So let us just comment it out. We'll save it. And we'll be using. functional component in here. Okay, so in order to make one functional component, what I have to do, I have to use the shorthand react functional component return export. Okay, so now we have this boilerplate. uh, so what we can do here is we have to use the use state hook. So we have to import it, and we have to import it by destructuring it from the react. Okay, so we'll be using use state, we're destructuring it from the react, and now we can use state inside our project. Okay, so let us use state. This will receive one argument, and that will be the initial value of our state. So for the initial value for our count, we have to pass 0 over here. This function will return a pair. Okay, so in order to receive that pair, we must be having one constant. Okay, constant array, that will be count and set count. Okay, okay, now we have count and set count. So count will be the value. Okay, and set count will be used to update this value. Okay, so in order to show this, we have to show this inside one h1. Okay, and now we can show this, show the count here. So in order to show the count, we can use this curly braces, and we can put count inside here. Okay, now I guess we can see the count. If we are lucky enough to not get any error, we can see that count inside in our output. Okay, so let us go to the Chrome. Let's see if we can see this 0 over here or not. Okay, yes, we are lucky enough, we can see the 0 here. So now uh, we have to call the button component again. Okay, and with the same props and with the same functions defined. So let us just copy those codes. So we'll call the button components again. Let's copy them with the same props. Okay, so let's copy it, pasting it over here. In order to use this button component, let us first import it. Okay, import button, not this button, but the button that we have made. Okay, button from VM, from the same folder. So we'll be using /button. Okay, we'll save it. Now we can use the button. Okay, so instead of using this dot increase and this dot decrease, we can use set count. Okay, so let us use set count in here. Or otherwise, what we can do is we can try to make these two functions and use the set count inside those functions. Okay, let us we don't need this keyword because it's a function component. We'll try to delete this keyword, and we'll be making two functions. Okay, the first function will be increase, and increase, that will be an arrow function. This function will do what? This function will call our set count function. Okay, that is being returned by this use state hook. Okay, so this will be used to update our count. Okay, so we can use this to update our count with +1. Okay, you can save this. A similar function will be made for the decrease. Okay, so we'll simply copy this and paste it down here, and we can type decrease here, and we have to put a minus symbol here because we want to decrease it by one. So I guess now this whole component should work if we are lucky enough. So we'll go back to our output and we'll see what happens again. So let us wait for it to compile. Now we can go to our output, and now we can see that a similar output is there. Okay, 0 is the initial count, and we have this increase button, decrease button. Pressing increase increases our value by 1, and pressing decrease decrease our value by 1. Okay, so all the two this counter app is completed with the functional component and with as well as with the class component. I have also told you about the hook. So now I'll take the comments from the comment section. I will try to answer them. Okay, let us, if you have some questions, please put it down in the comment section. I'll be answering them. Okay, so I have a problem. My counter app isn't loading. I think it's an infinite loop. If it is an infinite loop, React will show you an error. Okay, so don't worry. React is not a dumb fellow that will not tell you. If your counter app falls into an infinite loop, the React compiler will give you, the backend compiler will give you an error. It will show you in the output also and in the console also. Okay, so we don't have any question today. There's a delay in video. Yeah, maybe. Yes, class components are less preferred. Okay, we'll go ahead and component, take our questions. Okay, allow me 5 more minutes. Hello everyone. This Alva. Screen is freezed. Okay, there may be some error with your internet, I guess. Yeah, this new comment in here, but it's just loading. Okay, wait, maybe there's some error with the launch and other things. Okay, there are so many operating system dependencies and other things that makes you try to try to switch off your antivirus. Okay, so if you off your antivirus, it may load. There may be some error. There are many dependencies, so you don't panic when it is not loading up. Okay, try to deactivate your antivirus and it may work. It should be this dot increase. Yeah, I changed it. This, thank you. There's a delay in the video. Yeah, there may be some internet issues. Start with function. Okay, we don't have any questions in here. So Chitej, I think my class is over, so you can. Hello, Chitej, are there? Chitej, so we are done here. I guess we have to stop our live feed. Since I'm not getting any new comments here, so please send today's notes and codings. Yeah, I'll be sending it, Megan. I'll be sending it. Don't worry. I'll be sending it in the WhatsApp as well as in the Telegram group. I have one request for you people. Please try to increase the crowd in here. If you like my video, if you think that people can understand, people can get something out of it, please try to invite more and more people and try to encourage more and more people to React. React is a very latest technology, and it is widely used in most of the companies. So it will easily provide you uh, to launch you to some big MNCs, or even not MNCs. Then we'll get a high paid salary in startups too. Okay, React is very new. Please like and subscribe. Try to invite more and more people. Okay, somebody is telling me that class components are not being encouraged in the community. Yes, they are not being encouraged. Okay, class components are not being used. But why I'm taking the efforts to teach you that is because you need to understand what is a life cycle. Okay, how does an app works? Before jumping directly to the hooks, you must be ready with the class components. Okay, if I tell you that use effect does this and that, you won't be taking that until and unless you don't understand the life cycle of an app. Okay, once you understand that something should happen before the rendering and what should happen after the rendering, you can only understand the hook use effect and other hooks that are being used to replace them. Okay, so in order to make you understand the hooks, I'm only going through all this burden of class components. Okay, class components are not encouraged. You must not use them because they make the code very lengthy and very confusing. Class components are will be decrypted soon, I guess, deprecated soon. Functional components, on the other hand, are very smart, and the functional functional, I mean, like previously object oriented programming was made famous. Similarly, nowadays functional programming is more appreciated and more preferred by most of the developers, so you must go with the functional component. Don't worry, we'll be making our project with the functional component itself. Okay, so I'll ask Chitesh to stop here. If it works in parent child example, but counter one is just loading. Okay, then maybe you can do one thing, Nitesh. You just take a proper screenshot of your code or make a zip file out of your code, including the node modules folder, and put it inside the Telegram. I'll check the code. I'll try to run it on my own. I'll rectify the error and I'll send it back in the Telegram group itself. Okay, so I cannot solve the errors in the live video unless I don't see your code. So Chitesh, we'll be stopping here.
So thank you guys for this session.
Thank you so much for joining.